Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Nitro Racing League here on NASCAR Heat 5, the Championship 5 race after Talladega drama. Yes, we have 5 drivers instead of 4 for the championship race, and it's the final race on NASCAR Heat 5 for the Nitro Racing League. Almost a bit bittersweet, but at the same time, we were all very excited to be done with league racing on NASCAR Heat 5. So we don't know exactly how the future of this Nitro League is going to work on NASCAR 21 Ignition, because we found out today that for sure it looks like at the at least launch of NASCAR 21, there will not be a private lobby feature in NASCAR 21 Ignition. So how do we do leagues? Very baffling to see the devs actually not have that from the sounds of it. And if sure enough, private lobbies are not in NASCAR 21 Ignition at the release, in my opinion, that is inexcusable. So very disappointed to hear that, but hopefully we end up having those in launch and we're completely wrong. So here we were in this championship race, like I said, here in Homestead, Miami. So the championship 5, you got myself in the championship 5, you got the 19 and Nitro owner of Matt O'Brien in front of us, you got the number 20 of our other teammate of Jonathan behind us, and then you have the 9 of Andrew Wisdom and the 14 of Matt. So we got two Matts here going for a championship here tonight in Homestead, Miami. Now, we only had 11 cars here tonight. It wasn't a very large turnout for the final race on NASCAR Heat 5, which actually surprised me a bit. So we had our first caution of the day, though. There was a couple cars in the back that had crashed, and then we got back underway here after coming down the pit lane. So as you guys know, in the Nitro Racing League, we do have the choose cone rule, and I chose the bottom for the first restart, but I feel like you can definitely try and make that top work on restarts now, as we were side by side with the 88. Up in front was the 19 of Matt O'Brien now at this point here. So I really didn't know how this was going to go for us, because I definitely could tell right off the bat I didn't have a car that was as competitive as the 9 of Andrew or the 14 of Mahu, but I as well knew that if you can just stay with those cars in front of you, you can just maintain behind them and still have a chance later in this race. You can be slower than them, but if you can just stay in their draft, you're going to be okay. So that was kind of the main goal, is just make sure I can stay within the draft. Now, in the top 6, it was actually 5 of the final 5 drivers. There's myself and Jonathan made contact here on lap 18, because he got loose out of turn 2 and slammed into the side of me. So I would end up working my way into the 4th position. Andrew and Matt had kind of driven away in 1st and 2nd place now. And then eventually, though, we all start catching up just with the way the draft was working. But I was trying to test out the top lane to see if that would work, and it was not working very well. So I knew right off the bat I would have to just run the bottom here, as there was a bit of a moment with all of the Joe Gibbs drivers in the final 5 there with the 20 and the 19. They were all sideways running into each other, and then I ran into the back of the 19 because I thought he was going to go to the wall. Instead, he actually held his line, but unfortunately I drove right to the back of him here, and then out of turns 4 he gets sideways again, and he's going to go nearly into the outside wall, and I would move up into 3rd place. And then as we came through late in this stage, stage 1 I should mention ends on lap 40, or at the end of lap 40. So for some reason the 19, the 20, they decided they want to actually fight here in stage 1, so I just said, you guys can go and have your fun here. I didn't really feel like fighting for 3rd and 4th on lap 33 of a 136 lap race, I believe this was. So now to the final lap of stage 1 already, and Mahu in the 14 had ended up taking the lead and winning stage 1, and we were the worst of the final 5 here, down in 5th place to cross the line. So we come into the pit lane, we make a few adjustments to the car and hope that it was going to help us in stage 2. So the main adjustment I was making here was the right side tire pressures. I went a little bit down on them, and then I was putting the grill tape quite a ways up. You can really put the grill tape quite high at Homestead, Miami. Like, I had put it up to about 55% here, I think, early on in this race or so now, as we were underway in this 2nd stage. Just once again trying to just hang on. There was absolutely no reason to push hard here in stage 1 and 2, other than make sure you're at least in the top 5, maintaining in front of all the non-playoff drivers as well. So stage 2 comes to a close at the end of lap 80. So as soon as we hit lap 81, stage 2 is complete, and there will be a green flag pit stop if it does in fact stay green, unlike what it did there in stage 1. So now here we were side by side with the 20 of Jonathan behind us. The 95 of Connor got into the outside wall. He will not be returning to the 95 next season in the Nitro Racing League, or will anybody even be returning to the Nitro Racing League next season? Still, we don't even know yet, but we would end up getting up into 3rd place behind the 9 of Andrew and the 14 of Mahu. And now on lap 53, they were so much slower in the center of the corner than I was, and that really messed me up because I had to get on the brakes, and that made me vulnerable to get past here by the number 19 of Matt O'Brien, and then the 12 was trying to come through on the outside as well, and then we had the 20 of Jonathan just behind us. So just once again settling in here, getting ready for some green flag pit stops already. Now as we came through to lap 57 up the inside of the 19, there as he would actually get sideways on the exit of the corner. He saves it again, but we were able to get past him. And then on lap 71, we were still in third place, and myself and Andrew decided to come into the pit lane. Matt and the 20 of Jonathan, I believe, had already pitted, or Jonathan actually maybe stayed out an extra lap, but I was extremely careful on the pit entry, and absolutely nothing changed. We were still P3 by the final lap of stage 2. So a very calm, boring race, to be honest, so far here in the championship finale, as we would come through to cross the line P3 in stage 2. So we had made some improvements to the car, but the difference maker there in the stage 2 decider was simply the pit lane. So I knew that was going to be important going into stage 3, and tires weren't playing a huge role in terms of how much time you can gain here. So I was keeping that in mind as well as we came through to start this third and final stage here of the Nitro Racing League on NASCAR Heat 5, the final stage of the final race. I joined the Nitro Racing League on NASCAR Heat 2 right towards the end of that, and then was full-time on Heat 3, Heat 4, and now, of course, Heat 5. So it was bittersweet, like I said, kind of being on the final race here in the NASCAR Heat Series before moving to NASCAR Ignition. And hopefully, like I said, they will have private lobbies so we can do leagues here in our NASCAR Nitro Racing League. So now on lap 85, right behind Matt Chaffee. Now in the third and final stage, I was really hoping we weren't going to have non-playoff drivers trying to get up in the mix here of the championship battle, but unfortunately we had it here and there, and you'll see it come into effect a little bit later as well now. As the 19 of Matt, though, he wasn't waiting around for Chaffee. He just shoves him right out of the way. So I felt like I was being a little bit too nice at times here when I really should have been getting physical, kind of like the 19 did with not Chaffee but other drivers. So as we came through to lap 86 down into turns 1, we would be able to end up getting past at number 10 of Chaffee, move back up into the top 5. So all of the championship drivers in the top 5, but then Mahu had contact with the 20 of Jonathan, and he would fall outside of the top 5. So a bit of a moment for him, some potential championship implications here in the final race at Homestead Miami Speedway as Andrew continues to lead the way now. So we were up into 4th place and looking up the inside of the 20 of Jonathan here on lap 91. A little bit over 40 laps remaining in this race now as Mahu is getting back up into the mix already. So he had a fast car, and that's through Haas Racing number 14. And of course, lucky to be even in this championship 5 he is now, as Matt put him in as a 5th car after what happened in Talladega. So we would get up to 3rd place now past Jonathan. Jonathan would fade a little bit behind the 14 and behind a few other cars in general. And now here I was battling with Matt O'Brien. I was battling with the 14 of Mahu, and all of the championship contenders other than Jonathan right here in the mix. They decided they wanted to go 3 wide. I backed out of it. I said, I'm not really interested in your shenanigans here. So I just get in behind the 14 here and just try to do the best I can. Now as we get sideways on the exit of turns 2, but now as we came through the lap 96 out of turns 4, the 19 got shoved up the track a little bit there, and that would allow me to go through on the inside. And then after this, Matt actually really started to fade off here, so it really turned into a 3-car breakaway between myself, Andrew, and Mahu once again here. And now on lap 102, I decide we're going to try and make the second lane work around the outside of the number 14, and to my surprise, we're able to make it work quite well here as we get alongside him down the back straightaway. He actually pulls out. He just lets me go here and allows me to take 2nd place. So I could have tried to pass Andrew, but I just wanted to kind of sit behind him until the final pit stop of this race. And what I was hoping was I was going to be in P3 on the final lap of this race right behind Mahu and Andrew, and I was hoping they were going to come together in turn 3 and I could just go through to take the championship. That would have been the perfect case scenario, but is that going to work out? We don't know. It's all going to come down to that final pit stop now, as that's probably going to be what gets us spread out, and that pit stop is really going to decide the champion, not the actual racing on track, unfortunately. So now we were side by side with Mahu, and then as we came through turns 1 and 2 on lap 108, I get sideways on the exit of the corner. I hit the 14, I hit the outside wall. We leave a huge gap on the table after smashing the wall, and that might have been our championship hopes with less than 30 laps to go. And unfortunately, the 12 of Cameron would get past me, not in the final 5, but for some reason, I don't know why, he refused to let me go once I got to him, which was very saddening, honestly, now, as I finally got fed up with him. Andrew Wisdom had come into the pit on lap 110, and I said, I'm done dealing with the 12 who's just trying to hold us back. So I come into the pit lane here and decide to put 4 tires on the car. I made some minor adjustments here as well during the pit stop, and I actually think it made the car worse because we were a lot faster at the end of the last run. And you see Andrew, he was able to go by, the 19 of Matt was able to go by, who had already pitted earlier, and the 20 of Jonathan goes by as well, but I would easily get up the inside of Jonathan, who was really struggling here. Andrew was side by side with Matt. They had a bit of contact or something, or some blocking went happened, because I did hear Andrew get a little bit frustrated with Matt, but they're racing for a championship. You got to expect that type of stuff. So now, as you can see, Mahu coming onto the pit lane, and like I said, fresh tires or fresher tires by a lap or so is only going to make a difference for a few laps here. So I really didn't see a need to stay out too long. So we get past the 14, and then we easily run down the 19 of Matt O'Brien. So I knew he wasn't going to have a chance at the championship, and I knew that it was looking unlikely for any of us to beat Andrew at this point. And like I said, the championship battle came down to who got a better pit stop. It didn't come down to the actual racing on the track, unfortunately, here at this time in place from what it looked like. So unfortunately, on lap 117 out of turn 2, I get sideways there. The 14 gets up my inside, but I know if I fight him, we have no chance to catch Andrew. So I said, you know what, let's get in this 3-car train here and actually work together to try and run down the number 9 car here in the closing laps. Less than 20 laps to go in this race, and we had the 19 behind us, we had myself in the middle, and Mahu in front of us, and we're pushing each other forward to the 9 car of Andrew, cut the gap below 2 seconds, and we just continue to close the gap. But on lap 121 out of turn 2, we cut it down to 1.6 seconds, but Matt had a moment behind us, and unfortunately, he lost the draft. So that just left myself and Mahu, and our gap was still closing on Andrew, but a lot slower than it was when the 19 was with us as well. So now coming to lap 125, closing in on the final laps of the championship race. Trying my best to just push the 14 forwards. I knew, like I said, if I fight him, we will not get to Andrew. So I'm just trying to stay behind him and push him towards that 9 car. We cut the gap to 1.3 seconds, down to lap 136 laps to go in the championship. We continue to get closer and closer now, but it's not close enough to get to that 9 car here in these closing laps unless he makes some type of mistake. It got down to about a second, and then to now lap 133, less than a second now between the 14, myself, and the 9 of Andrew. 3 laps to go here in Homestead, Miami now, as we're right on the back of the 14. He hits the apron. I said, you know what, I gotta go. As soon as he made that mistake, I just drove into the back of him, moved him out of the way, and actually he gets into the outside wall there. I felt bad at the time, but obviously we had to get going here, and he made that mistake, and we had to pounce on it now, as I knew at that point none of us were getting to the 9 of Andrew, so it didn't really affect anything. We come straight through to the final lap of the championship race here, down into turns 1 and 2 for the final time. What a difference it could have been if we didn't get side by side or if sideways alongside the 14 and hit that outside wall, or maybe if we could have gotten past that 12 car when he was in front of us after that contact. It could have been a completely different race, but nonetheless, through turns 3 and 4 for the final time, Andrew Wisdom will come through to win the final NASCAR Heat 5 race in the Nitro Racing League and the championship, as well as we come through to cross the line in 2nd place. So, of course, congratulations to Andrew. We were all just thrilled to be done with this game and league racing, but ready to move on to NASCAR 21 Ignition now as we get 2nd in the final 5. So, an unfortunate ending, but it was still fun throughout this season now. Before we end it, let's check out our overall NASCAR Heat 5 Nitro Racing League points, or sorry, not points, stats ever. So this is from NASCAR Heat 2 when I joined the Nitro Racing League to the end of NASCAR Heat 5. So we've done 6 seasons, 112 starts, 32 career wins, 76 top 5s, 1 championship, 28% win percentage, and 67% in the top 5. My best average finish in a season was the season 10 of the Nitro Racing League, which was this season right here. So honestly, I think this was a great season, of course, for me. Now, my worst average finish in a season was last season, actually. So 5th place, basically. Most wins in a season was 10 in season 8. As you can see, where we won Vegas, we won Kansas, Dover, Pocono, Michigan, Martinsville, Roval, Texas, Richmond, and Loudon. This season, we only won like 5 races at Richmond, as well as Atlanta, Iowa, Bristol, and Martinsville. So as well, you can see the least wins we've had was 3, and that was in both season 5 and season 6, which were my first 2 seasons in the Nitro Racing League. Most consecutive wins in a row was actually only at 2, which happened twice in the 5th season of Nitro and 7th. And my highest points finish, of course, is first with the championship in my 2nd season in the Nitro Racing League. So only one championship, but like I've said it many times, with the playoff system, I love the playoff system. But a championship to me doesn't mean as much in the playoff system. It's all about I would rather win 10 races and no championship than say win 1 or 2 races and win the championship. So I'm very proud of what we've done here, especially over the last 3 seasons where we have won what I think like 23, 24 races or something like that in the last 3 seasons of the Nitro Racing League. So cool to check out those stats. Matt, of course, has every single driver updated on the Nitro website and whatnot at the end of each season. But that does it for the Nitro Racing League in the NASCAR Heat Series. What's coming for the Nitro Racing League on NASCAR 21 Ignition? We don't know yet, due to the fact that we still don't have clarification if public lobbies are in or private lobbies are in the game at launch. I mean, so a lot of confusion there. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time of your day to watch this episode, and I will see you guys on the next one. Have a great day, everybody.